Everything was going well. The conversations were deeper. The connection felt real. And then something shifted. She started replying slower. The warmth disappeared. What was once consistent became unpredictable, hot and cold, distant and then suddenly present. You find yourself waiting for messages. You notice the energy changing. If you've experienced this, you're not alone. But here's what most people get wrong. This doesn't happen because she lost interest. This happens because she started caring more. I've spent years studying attachment patterns and emotional dynamics in relationships. I've observed thousands of interactions, analyzed behavioral responses, and tracked psychological patterns. What I've discovered is that there's a psychological mechanism most people completely miss. When a woman develops genuine feelings, something shifts internally. It's not random or chaotic. It's a deeply embedded pattern rooted in how she processes vulnerability, fear, and emotional safety. It's both biological and psychological. The moment she realizes she's actually falling, her mind triggers a defense response. That's when the pulling back begins. That's when the distance appears. And if you don't understand this mechanism, you'll misread every signal she sends. You'll think she's lost interest when she's actually overwhelmed. You'll feel rejected when she's protecting herself. You'll watch something real fade because you couldn't see what was actually happening beneath the surface. This is where the confusion starts. This is where misunderstanding takes root. This creates confusion, endless overthinking, that feeling of being rejected without understanding why. You replay conversations repeatedly. You analyze her words looking for hidden meaning. You try to figure out what you did wrong when the truth is far more psychological than that. Your mind spirals. Your confidence drops. You begin questioning everything about yourself and the connection itself. In this breakdown, we're going to uncover 5 hidden psychological reasons why she pulls away when she starts caring. These aren't surface-level observations. These are patterns backed by attachment psychology and behavioral dynamics that most people never recognize until it's too late. The first reason is what I call the emotional overload response. Here's what happens. When a woman begins developing real feelings, her emotional intensity increases exponentially. Her heart engages, her nervous system activates, but she has a threshold. Beyond that threshold, her emotional nervous system perceives the feeling as unsafe. It's like an internal alarm triggering. Her brain, trying to protect her from potential pain, initiates a withdrawal response. This is attachment psychology at its core. When emotional activation exceeds her comfort zone, she defaults to distance as a stabilizing mechanism. In real life, this looks like her being incredibly present and open, and then suddenly becoming cold after a particularly vulnerable conversation. You opened up to her. She opened up to you. Everything felt aligned. And then the next day, she's different, distant, less responsive. What actually happened is her nervous system became overwhelmed by the intensity of what she felt, so she retreated to regulate herself. Most people interpret this as her losing feelings. The truth is completely different. She's experiencing emotional overwhelm and is trying to stabilize internally. The second reason goes deeper. It's what I call the vulnerability avoidance mechanism. This is rooted in past conditioning and accumulated experience. Women who've been hurt, who've learned through painful experience that caring deeply leads to pain or abandonment, develop a protective pattern. When she starts caring for you, she unconsciously remembers past experiences where vulnerability led to rejection, loss, or disappointment. Her mind doesn't distinguish between past and present. It sees the pattern repeating again, so she pulls back preemptively. She's trying to avoid the hurt before it happens to her again. You see this in her behavior when she becomes emotionally inconsistent. She might be warm and affectionate, then suddenly pull away without clear reason. She might become critical or distant right after a moment of closeness. She's not doing this consciously. She's operating from a programmed response that says caring equals danger. The deeper she lets you in, the more her protective walls activate. What looks like her losing interest is actually her trying to protect herself from inevitable pain. The third reason is the attachment conflict loop. This one's fascinating because it reveals deep internal contradiction. She wants closeness. She wants to feel connected and secure. But she also has a deep need for independence and control. When feelings develop, the closeness intensifies. That triggers her need for distance to maintain her sense of control and identity. So she oscillates. She moves closer, then pulls back, gets attached, then retreats. It's not random. It's a psychological rhythm born from conflicting attachment needs. In her actual behavior, you'll notice she initiates contact and then disappears. She seems interested and then suddenly unavailable. She wants your attention but resists when you give it. This isn't her being confused about you. This is her struggling with her own internal conflict between her need for intimacy and her need for autonomy. She cares, but caring threatens her sense of control, so she pulls away to reclaim it. The fourth reason is the subconscious self-protection trigger. This is where fear gets really deep and complex. At some point in her life, she may have been in a situation where caring too much made her vulnerable. Maybe she lost someone important. Maybe she gave too much and got nothing back. Maybe she made herself small to keep someone around. These experiences create a belief system buried deep in her mind. I cannot care fully and stay safe. When she starts falling for you, that old belief activates. Her subconscious recognizes the pattern, and it triggers a protective response. She starts creating distance not because of anything you did, but because her nervous system is trying to prevent a past trauma from repeating itself. Watch for this in how she behaves after intimacy. She might become withdrawn or slightly hostile after vulnerability. She might push you away right when things feel real. She might test you by creating distance to see if you'll abandon her. These aren't signs she doesn't care. These are signs her nervous system is operating from a place of deep fear. She's trying to hurt you before you can hurt her. She's creating the rejection to avoid experiencing it. And then there's the fifth reason, the deepest one. The core truth that changes everything about how you understand her. It's the intimacy fear response, but not in the way you think. This isn't just fear of closeness or vulnerability. This is fear of what happens when she fully surrenders to someone. When she allows herself to care completely, she loses a part of her identity. She becomes someone who can be hurt, someone who can be left, someone who is dependent on another person for emotional validation and support. That terrifies her at a level she can't even articulate to anyone. When she starts genuinely falling for you, it's not just emotion she's facing, it's a threat to her sense of self. Her independence feels shaken, her control feels threatened, and her identity as someone who doesn't need anyone is being challenged. That's when the pulling back intensifies. She's not pulling away because you're not enough. She's pulling away because you're too much. You've become significant enough to challenge how she sees herself and navigates the world. This is why she won't explain it, why she can't put it into words. The distance appears without clear reason. She's not running from you. She's running from what you represent: vulnerability, loss of control, and the possibility of being hurt. She feels more than ever, so she shows less than ever. All these reactions exist on a spectrum. They're interconnected and layered, a psychological system where emotional depth triggers protective responses. It's not random. It's not cruelty. It's survival, even if it costs connection. Understanding this changes everything. Distance isn't rejection. Coldness isn't indifference. Pulling away isn't avoidance. It's her pulling toward herself, trying to stabilize, to protect the part of her terrified of surrendering completely. This awareness is transformative. Start observing these patterns. Notice when she retreats after vulnerability. Recognize when distance grows as feelings deepen. See the connection between emotional intensity and the need for space. Here's the truth most people miss. Distance doesn't mean she doesn't care. Distance means she cares more than she can handle, and that changes how you see her, interpret her behavior, and respond. If this feels familiar, reflect for a moment. Have you ever felt everything was right, and then suddenly, it wasn't? Comment below and share your experience. I read every story, and your insight might help someone else. To truly understand female psychology, emotional patterns, and the deeper reasons behind behaviors like this, subscribe to Dr. Sophia Bennett. Once you start seeing these patterns clearly, you stop guessing and start understanding. And that changes everything.